like the feeling of being under control from a tree, it's amazing because you don't make noise. Like when you're on the ground, you're always, even if you're sitting waiting for an afternoon to try to see if something comes out, you're always like exposed. You try to move, you make noise with your feet. You try to move the bow and the animal is looking at you. So you're always like on tension, like trying to not fuck up the situation. But when you're on a tree, it's like no one is looking at you. You move around on the saddle, you don't make noise, you can draw the bow, the animals don't look up. So it was a way more pleasant experience than I thought, especially for the afternoons when the deer are coming out of the forest. To Missouri with Brian. In Missouri was tough because the property was small for what we're used to, and we were three guys hunting. How many acres there were? I don't know. I think I did like 300 acres or something. I don't know. Which maybe you tell me is like, no, for America that's huge. Which if it will be by property, it will be huge. I don't have any property, so in terms for three guys hunting, I think it's a lot of pressure and it's very easy to quickly in a few days push the deer out. And yeah, I don't know, we had a great experience. But the key that I was trying to learn, it was like where to set up, because for me all the trees look the same.
What's going on? Welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host, and today we have an amazing guest. He's been a repeat guest. I absolutely love everything that he puts out, his hunts, his journeys, everything in between. He does a great job. His name is Pedro Ampuero, and he is based out of Spain. If you guys haven't seen his channel yet, I don't know where you've been, but long story short, go and check it out. It's worth it 100%. He loves his family. He loves hunting. He loves adventure. He's got an amazing story, and we've told his story a couple of different times in past podcasts, but this one we go over kind of a recap of his 2024. He had some amazing hunts. He completed I want to say it's called the Capra 20, where it's 20 different types of, I'm going to mess this up. Either way, go look it up, guys. It's 20 different of a specific species of animal with a bow. I want to say it's either sheep or goats, but man, it is insane. And Pedro is just an amazing guy. He really is. And he recently started a couple of different ventures as well, including his own hunting knife line. So all of that being said, I'm really excited for this conversation and getting to share it with you guys. Before we get into that conversation, guys, I do want to remind you that if you are listening to this on the audio-only platform, I really appreciate you over on Spotify and Apple. Subscribe or follow, and you can leave a review. It really helps more than you know, and that's a free way to help support the show here as we continue to grow. And if you're looking to support in ways that, well, right now is a great time to go and get your gear and tinker with it all throughout right now up until the summer. Use it during the summer and kind of space out your purchases as needed throughout this year. If you need to get new gear, new bow, new arrows, etc. Guys, I highly recommend you go and check out BlackOvis and use code RedBeard. I'll leave the link down below, but code RedBeard is going to save you some money. And right now, if you go and buy BlackOvis branded gear, you're going to get a great deal. And also some amazing gear, guys, for different base layers, jackets. This vest right here is BlackOvis. Absolutely love all the pieces that I've received from BlackOvis. So go and check it out, guys. And all the other gear that you're looking for, go purchase it over at BlackOvis and save some money and support us here at the show. Now, with that being said, let's get into this conversation here with Pedro Ampuero. All right, everyone, welcome back to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host, and we have Pedro Ampuero from Spain. Guys, this guy, well, we say he's from Spain, but I feel like he spends more time outside of Spain than in Spain with how much he hunts. And so he's
I think I shouldn't pay taxes anywhere. That's
he's homeless. He's homeless.
it would be fair to don't pay taxes, but
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? But no, so Pedro, guys, I found Pedro's page a while ago on YouTube. He just puts out phenomenal videos on hunts, and it's not even the hunting that I really latched onto when I started watching Pedro's content. And Pedro's been on the podcast before. I think last year we ended with Pedro as well, and just kind of going over his year recap, which there's too much to recap in a podcast episode. He really does hunt the entire world, multiple different weapon types, not just archery, not just rifle. He loves learning about different cultures while he was there, and about the animals, and trying to not necessarily kill the biggest, but also trying to find a good representation of what that animal is for that area of the country, or whatever it is that he's hunting. And I love the storytelling more than anything. You share your failures, you share your successes, and you share experiences that some people will never get to have in their lives, but you bring them into the camp with you and allow them to learn from you as you go through all of these experiences. And that's the biggest thing for me, that you bring to, I guess, to YouTube and to the people that are watching your channel, is you do it different. And I absolutely love that. So in the last podcast, guys, we talked about Pedro used to be a master engineer building telescopes and doing all this amazing stuff, and finally told his boss, look, I'm going to go sell clothing for Kuyu. And his boss kind of laughed at him. And now he's representing Kuyu with the Christmas flannel that they've got now. I'm kidding. I don't think that's Kuyu, but he's got the Christmas flannel going and traveling the world hunting. So with that being said, Pedro, for people that don't know who you are, man, who are you?
Thank you. So yeah, I don't know. So we are based in Spain, and now we manage the European side. But we have also been doing videos forever. And thanks a lot for the kind words about our films. I think my biggest motivation, honestly, is there is so many anti-hunters. I think way more in Europe than in America. So we get attacked often, and it's kind of like before. I think like a lot of people were more focused on sharing the kill shot, but there is so much more than the kill shot that people don't understand. So like trying to give the kill shot the importance it has, because at the end we all like kill shots, and typically like we want, because we understand when we see a kill shot as a hunter, we understand the adrenaline, we understand the effort. So like you get all the excitement. So they are important, but also to tell the whole journey, the whole stories, because there is so much more than that kill shot. And that's what we're trying to share, in hopes that someone that is not much into hunting also thinks that it's interesting and learns and understands a little bit more what we do. So that would be my passion. And
Yeah.
luckily I have ended up doing that for quite a big part of my time, and we really enjoy doing it. So I appreciate that it reaches to the audience and people are enjoying it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you're not so serious. Like, you can tell that you're very passionate about it, but you're also, your personality shows through. You're not just doing voiceovers. You're not just very like stringent and like you're reading a script. You definitely share, again, your failures, your emotions, your learning, and everything like that. And little things like, I can't remember where you were, but you drank the goat's blood or something like that. Like that was part of their culture. Yeah, exactly. I think that was the same face you made. But you share,
Really?
you share in the culture. You try, and you're not just there to hunt. You're there to learn more about the people as well, and everything that goes into it. Not just fly in, kill an animal, and leave. You definitely immerse yourself in that whatever culture you're in. Um,
I definitely regret a few things about this season, and that might be one of those. Because that thing, so that was in Gobi, Mongolia, and
mm,
it's a tradition to just drain the blood and drink it. And they also use a kind of like a Sprite or like water with
mm,
gas, which I think inside your stomach it makes a deadly combination with the blood, and it just is not great. Especially if the shot, by the time you take the blood, you have touched a little bit of like the intestine and whatever. It's not great, but you guys should try it. The last time we were in Mongolia last year that we were hunting elk over there, the first day of the trip, the guys brought a sheep to kill it to eat for the week that we were gonna be hunting. And actually, they demonetized my whole video of Mongolia because of that opening scene. Because I was like, how do I start a film that it's about elk hunting, but to kind of like surprise, like, so someone in America sees an elk, okay, it's another elk video, but it's like, how do I start it different? So the
mm.
opening scene is a Mongolian guy dropping a sheep that it's alive, bringing it down, praying, killing it, and pulling all the blood out of the sheep. which I understand now why they demonetized the video. But I was like, you are going to sit down. It's like, I'm going to watch an elk video, and you see someone praying and killing a goat. And it was funny because in order to don't get the blood mixed with the intestines and all that area, they will make all this to the sheep alive. Like the cameraman that came to the trip was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like it's just like my first day, and like they make a tiny cut here on underneath the sternum, and they put with the sheep alive the whole hand inside the sheep. With the finger, they cut the artery underneath the spine in order for the sheep to bleed out inside the diaphragm, so they can collect all the blood inside the diaphragm.
Wow.
So it was like Indiana Jones, like when they pull the heart out of someone, I don't know, on the film Indiana Jones, kind of like that's like the guy having the hand full inside the sheep that it's still alive. I was like, dude, that was too. Welcome to me. They
like,
appreciate a
that
lot the
wasn't
blood.
just Hollywood. It was real life, man. That's
They appreciate a lot of blood, but it's not the best taste, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've had I can't remember what they called it now down in Mexico, but it was blood sausage, and I just
I know the blood sausage is the best thing ever.
no.
We have a lot in Spain, and I don't know what Mexico. They don't know anything about blood sausage. So excuse me, all my Mexican friends, but in Spain we do. So whenever you come to Spain, we will give you blood sausage because I think it's better to don't know what you're eating.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But it's kind of like, I don't know, when I went down to Mexico the first time I was down there, they were giving me all these different tacos, street tacos and stuff. And they're like, "Oh yeah, the best tacos, taco de tripa." And I was like, "Okay." Like I didn't know that word at the time. And I was like, "Okay." So I'm sitting there eating them, a little bit of lime and some salsa and sitting there eating it. And they're like, "Do you know what tripa is?" I was like, "No." And they're like, "It's intestines." I was like, "Well, it's good. Whatever you did to it, it's good." Yeah. Man, goodness. Anyway.
We were in Agustin, Kamchatka, and I shot a brown bear with a bow, and we eat the bear paw. And I don't know, like when you skin a paw or a foot of a bear, it 100% looks like a human. It's like you see it, and it's like, and after first, when you skin the bear and you start like skinning the bear, and you see like the parasites they have inside the muscles, that they are like this big, like maybe
The
I don't know,
worms,
like 5 inches or 10 inches or whatever coming out of the leg, and you see the paw that looks like a human foot getting boiled over water, you are like, what moment of my life to gain like 5 more subscribers? I have said that I'm gonna eat this. And Roberto, the cameraman, was like, I was like, you need to try it. Like, no way. I mean, like, there is only one out of 4 Russians. There is only one Russian eating it. So I don't think it's a tradition because the rest are not eating it. So if it's not like everyone on the table is like, yeah, let's try it out. It's only one. It's like, I'm not doing it.
No. Yeah.
Which was better than expected. And according like the feet and the hands, they have so much tendons that is not risky, and how much you boil it is not risky in terms of trichinosis and other parasites. Still, I may need to do a check one of these days.
Yeah, seriously. Oh man. Well, with all of that was a great way to start off the podcast. Bleeding out sheep and yeah, exactly. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Start the podcast again.
This is what it takes to make it in YouTube in Europe. You got to go drain sheep's blood and you got to eat bear paws.
But please subscribe to the channel, guys, so I can. Yeah. That's why I enjoy about the trip to America, is that we eat normal things.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, Pedro traveled the world. You traveled the world this year, and you had quite a few hunts. And I kind of honestly get them mixed up. I watch all your videos, but I get them mixed up which ones were last year, the year before, whatever. But this year, a couple that stood out to me were it was your first whitetail hunt, and you did awesome. And some of the struggles, we'll talk about some of the struggles that you encountered, the biggest trial that you had sitting in a tree for that long, just trying to figure out what to do. And I guess I kind of want to highlight maybe your top 3 hunts this year. You had so many. I know it's probably hard to to separate your top three. But what, along with the whitetail hunt, what would be your other top two hunts this year? Let's talk about those.
So we didn't do that many. Like we started in Mexico, which we did
Mhm.
a combination hunt. Like Mexico is a beautiful country to hunt, and we hunted goose deer and mountain lion
Was
and
that your
goose.
first mountain lion?
Yeah, and we eat
Okay.
it too, which was amazing.
Yeah,
Like
it tastes really good.
and I promise I will not bring food anymore. But it's almost dinner time, so I'm just thinking about food. But we did a blind test of the mountain lion, the goose deer, the goose, and the sandhill crane.
Hmm.
Completely blind, the four of us. The same, all the meat cooked the same way, because it's true that when they give you, try mountain lion, you try it, and for me at least, when I skin the mountain lion, you look at the mountain lion hanging, and it's like this looks 100% like, well, it's a cat, so it's like I'm
Hmm.
not gonna like it, no matter like your. I think they have a lot of power, so like you see the plate, like there's no way I'm gonna like this. So we did a blind test, and surprisingly, the best meat, the one that won was the mountain lion, then the sandhill crane, which they look
Hmm.
awful too. It's an animal that, well, they call it the ribeye of the sky. So, but and then the goose deer, and the less favorite was the goose.
Hmm.
But it was surprising. Like I would have never said that the mountain lion was gonna win
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that then in Mexico. And again, with the mountain lion, did you kill it with a bow or was that with a rifle? Remind me.
with the bows, with
With a
with the
bow. Okay.
bow and with the hounds.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
I think that I think it's important. Like the kill shot is not as important, and I think when you have the mountain lion on the tree, is not difficult. Obviously, you need to make sure that you don't make mistakes, but it's not a easier. It's not a difficult shot. It's true that in Mexico, in that area, the trees are very small. So they can't jump out of the tree on the first one, because they. It's not like a really tall tree that they climb and they just feel safe. Like they are not that high. But it's pretty interesting to see how there is you can barely see the tracks because everything is very dry. How the houndsman, like they track and they see, and the dogs and all that, and I really enjoy hunting with the dogs. So I honestly, it was more exciting than what I expected, because when you
Yeah.
run with the dogs after several days and you don't know what you're going to find, I don't know, I thought it was better than what I was expecting from the films or the videos that I had
Hmm.
seen.
Yeah. So was that your first time hunting with hounds or you've hunted with hounds before?
Well, we have hunted not with that type of hounds, but
Mm.
we hunt a lot with dogs in Spain for driven hunts and all those things, for wild boar and all that, but not with hounds, with that style
Yeah.
of hunts, which I don't know how they're called. But
Yeah. So and I know from my experience with watching, my buddy had a bear tag and we ran bears with the dogs. The hounds, watching the houndsmen and the hounds work together it's really cool to watch. And it's not just, and honestly, what a lot of people don't understand is that houndsmen can get very particular about what, like if they treat mountain lion or a bear, they can get very particular about what animals they're okay with you killing. I know at least here in the U.S., like they like to manage and know what cats and bears are in the area, and they treat them. I mean, I wouldn't say like cattle, but they've almost named all the cats, and they know which ones are the older ones, the bigger toms, and which ones to go after. And it's really cool to watch the dynamic of the dogs and the houndsmen together. Imagine it's similar down in Mexico, the way that
yeah,
they work
in
together.
Mexico, I think like management wise is a bit different, because for them they give them. It's not that often that they give you a legal permit to like hunt them. So my buddy had that because they were having troubles with the cattle and with the animals. And for them, if you tree a cat, that's the cat that is giving trouble, and that's the cat they hunt. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like the opposite of what I was expecting. So it's like, we don't care about your trophy standards or what you want to kill. You are not hunting here for a trophy. You are hunting here for
Mhm.
management. So we are going to hunt the animal that is on the property giving troubles. And actually, they were saying that typically the younger cats are the ones that hit better the cattle, because they are not as efficient hunting goose deer or wildlife. as you may expect. So in that sense, it was a different type of management, which sometimes, like I see it with deer in Spain, like there is two ways to manage, like on driven hands or whatever, like you shoot a little bit of everything. So your pyramid of management, you shoot sometimes an old one, sometimes a young, but you're shooting a little bit of everything, which it can be as good or as efficient as always shooting the oldest. So, like one year they will tree a young one, the next year they will tree a male, the other a female, the other an older one. So they kind of touch the pyramid of the whole population a little bit on all the parts, rather than what sometimes happens with deer, that we are always hitting the deer when they are 3 to 5 years old. So you are not always targeting the same, which sometimes is better to shoot a 2 year old, an 8 year old, 1 year, a 5 year old, but you kind of touch a little bit of everything rather than just targeting always when they are getting to their prime.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And just hitting on the mountain lion thing there. So this was your first time killing a mountain lion. You did it with a bow, hounds, and then eating a mountain lion. Are there mountain lions in Europe?
No, no, we don't
Okay.
have any cats in Europe, I would say.
Okay. So yeah, the first time that I had it, it's almost like a sweet pork, is how I would describe it. It's got
Yeah,
that
the meat
white
looks,
meat.
yeah, the meat is very white. It looks like pork.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and you still have to cook it well because you're worried about trichinosis because it is a predator. But it was really good the last time I had it, when my buddy got a cat, and they're beautiful animals too. You know, mountain lions are very very efficient killers at what they do, and but they're just a beautiful animal. Just seeing one up in a tree, watching them do their thing, watching them as they're playing, maybe they're chasing an elk or something like that. Just they're it's crazy to think how powerful those animals are when they don't
Yeah,
really carry that. They just kind of glide around wherever they are. But man, when you get up to them and you feel how muscular they are and their paws are so big and their jaws are just so powerful. They're beautiful creatures.
yeah. It will be an animal that I will not personally. It's
Mhm.
true that I don't have hounds, so if I will have hounds, probably but it will not be an animal that will kill every single year. So I think there are certain species, in my opinion, that I hunt one, but I don't feel like wild boars. I could hunt a lot, or roe
Yeah.
deer or whatever. But there is some species that is like, with one and the experience, I had enough.
Brief interruption. Want to remind you, just really quick, guys, if you are in the market for some new digiscoping equipment, All In is constantly making and updating their adapters and their phone cases and everything else. Guys, there's so many cool things in the pipeline for this year and the coming years. Go and check out All In. The code is RedBeard. You can save lots of money by using that. But also, on top of that, you're going to get the most effective digiscoping out there. It's an amazing company, great people, and there's so many things from the Nexus system, which is a quick disconnect between your binos and your camera and your spotting scope and your rifle, everything in between, to your adapters for the different spotting scopes and binocular rings. Also, whatever phone you choose to use, they more than likely have that phone case for you. Go and check out All In. Definitely want to update your digiscoping game with them. So now, with that being said, let's get back to the conversation here with Pedro Ampuero.
I would probably go with someone to join him, and if they were my hounds, it would be a completely different story.
Mm,
But me as a hunter being guided, I think it's so beautiful that I don't feel like they need to harvest one very often, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
No, yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. So the cougar, and then let's talk about your whitetail experience because this was your first time. We're kind of joking before we hopped on here. We're going to call him Pedro the Possum because of how much he got to hang in a tree this year. But talk to us kind of what were some struggles? I know you hit on it really well in your video, and you killed a really nice buck, especially for your first one. I mean, that was a really good deer. Great representation of where you were at as well. But talk us through some of your struggles and your learning getting into whitetail for the first time.
So first of all, the reason I wanted to hunt whitetails is because if there is so many people obsessed, because people are obsessed with whitetails, and I don't know, I have seen so many videos that honestly, like, I don't understand why these guys keep putting videos. It's always the same. My feeling, it's like it's always the same. A pack passing by, you draw. Like I didn't see the point, but I have traveled enough to know when there is so many people obsessed. Like there must be a reason that I'm missing out. So I was like, this year I really want to go to America, hunt whitetails, and try to understand it. Maybe I like it, maybe I not, but there must be something behind it because if not, people are not so obsessed to do
Mhm.
all the things that I have seen. And I organized a hunt first in Missouri that I spent a week there with Brian Cole and Mark Livesey. That's the hunt that we have released. But after that, we spent another week in Ohio hunting with some friends. So we actually spent 14 days hunting back to back. So
That's a
it
lot of
was,
time.
yeah, thank God, like this year during the spring, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try, like, because people think that it's easy. I mean, like, it's harder to spot on stock than hunting from a tree stand, but I completely think it's the opposite. So my challenge this year is like I'm gonna try to kill a roe deer, which is a deer that we have in Europe, from a tree stand. Which I was like, I
Oh.
don't know, like for me it was like harder. It's like I rather walk, find them, and thank God that I did that because I got used to setting up the saddle, going up on the tree, shooting from a tree. Because I have hunted a lot from tree stand for wild boars at night, but not for deer. So trying to understand the deer and all that. And I was surprised during the whole spring because, well, in Spain they don't even look up. So like the feeling of being under control from a tree, it's amazing because you don't make noise. Like when you're on the ground, you're always, even if you're sitting waiting for an afternoon to try to see if something comes out, you're always like exposed. You try to move, you make noise with your feet. You try to move the bow and the animal is looking at you. So you're always like on tension, like trying to not fuck up the situation. But when you're on a tree, you're like, no one is looking at you. You move around on the saddle, you don't make noise. You can draw the bow, the animals don't look up. So it was a way more pleasant experience than I thought, especially for the
Mm.
afternoons when the deer are coming out of the forest
Mhm.
towards you.
Oh yeah.
That being
Yeah,
said,
for
we
sure.
went to Missouri with Brian and yeah, in Missouri it was tough because the property was small for what we're used to, and we were three guys hunting. How many acres there were? I don't know. I think I did like 300 acres or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
Which maybe you tell me is like, no, for America that's huge. Which if it will be by property, it will be huge. I don't have any property, so. But in terms for three guys hunting, I think it's a lot of pressure, and it's very easy to quickly in a few days push the deer out. And yeah, I don't know. We had a great experience, but the key that I was trying to learn, it was like where to set up, because for me all the trees look the same, and I was surprised sometimes. It's like, no, you sit here, go to the and find a tree. Like all the trees look the same. My shooting range is only 30 yards, and I was telling Brian and Mark, like, there is not anywhere that you can see more because you guys, I don't see anything. I see two trails. But he's like, no, that's where the deer passed by, and actually I shot the deer at 6 yards. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So was that your first time in a tree saddle?
well, this spring, yeah, it has been
Okay.
this season. It has been the first time.
Yeah.
And after
So
setting that thing up every morning and every afternoon, I'm pretty efficient now.
yeah. Yeah. How was it your first time leaning back into the saddle, like trusting the saddle so you don't fall out of the tree?
The first time, not the first week.
Okay.
The first week in Spain, like you will make anything will make a sound like a clack, and I would like a possum, like hanging to the tree, like. And Roberto, my camera, would laugh. He's like, dude, I thought that that thing was gonna break and I was gonna fall like in slow motion, like backwards. So it took me a little bit to get used to them, but I actually enjoyed way more than tree stands. And
Mhm.
actually, on the second property in Ohio, there were a bunch of tree stands already set. But especially for filming, when you are two guys on the same tree,
Mm.
when you're on a tree stand, you are back to back. So the first day, like if I see a deer, I touch the leg of Roberto to tell him that something is coming, but he needs to stand up, rotate. I need
Mm.
to stand up. And when you're on a tree hanging, you're watching the face of each other. So if he sees something coming from my back, he's like, coming. and I would just like rotate,
Mhm.
and you're already standing, so like you kind of like change the balance. And for shooting, I found it like way better, and the steps that these days the steps have evolved a lot. So like how quickly you can set up the steps to climb up the tree with no buckles, with no metal things. It's just a tiny rope. You don't make noise. So I really enjoy how the saddle thing has evolved. So
Yeah, no, for sure. So other than being worried about falling out of a tree, what were some other hurdles that you had to go over to sit there and wait for whitetails?
no, I'm gonna tell you a few things that I experienced that they were completely different to what we do in
Mm.
Europe. So especially like with Mark and Brian, it was great because we were hunting and doing whatever we wanted, and like just. But when we went to the outfitter in Ohio, those guys were like more dialed. It's like, okay, you guys
Mm.
are hunting target bucks. You cannot disturb the area. You need to be serious. You need to do this, move out. Like and it makes sense because if you're going to be hunting for a month with X amount of
Mm.
clients, you don't want to burn the spots. You don't want people,
Yeah.
you really want people to succeed. So they were very serious, which was very interesting. So, few things like the smell, like the thing about using ozone to kill the scent of the clothing, leaving the clothing outside, the sprays of the scent, all those things, like, is definitely not a thing over here. But there is a few guys that I really value them as hunters, that they were super. They do really think that it makes a difference, and we started doing it. And I have to say that I was surprised, and I think it might not solve you all the problems, but it may give you a few extra seconds. So I think I'm gonna give it more a try, especially for tree stand hunting,
Hmm.
because it's true that when you sit for 7 hours on the same tree, your 7 hours of your scent going all around, so kind of like your smell goes all over.
Hmm.
But it blew my mind when those guys tell me, is like, well, they were like, if you need to pee, no problem. It's like, what do you mean, no problem? I brought my bottle, to make sure that like, no, pee is not a problem. Like, I like 100%, it needs to be a problem. So I'm cleaning all my clothes on and all that, and I can pee up from a tree. I didn't get that.
Did they
But
tell
it's
you? Did they tell you to pee in the scrapes? Did they tell you that?
Yeah, they say no, we pee in the scrape. It's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
like there must be some different smell, especially when you pee from up high on the tree. Like you spread. I don't know. So there is no way that doesn't make a difference, in my opinion. But it was a relief to be able to pee, because if not, it's just there were long sits. But they were like, if you want to do number two, like you need to call us. We will go pick you up, take you somewhere else, drop you back on the stand. I like, at my age, to have to call someone to pick me up. That must be like the most degrading thing of my life. So it's like I better do my business early in the morning, because if not, I'm not calling for rescue for that. But those were
That's
things that I
awesome.
was surprised that.
Yeah. No, that's
And
cool.
also a
That's
little bit
cool.
about the management, how it's approached, especially about those. Like the amount of people, like how established is to shoot those this time of the year, and our experience with red deer in Spain is that it's a bit too early. Like, of okay, the fawn can survive,
Hmm.
but it survives way stronger, and they reach to the spring way bigger and healthier if they have their mother all the way up to February or March,
Hmm.
because they learn where to go during the winter, where to find shelter with the. I don't know if this.
There we go. We're back.
We're back. Yeah.
So you were saying that they survive, the fawns survive a lot better through the winter if they've got their mom with them through the winter.
Yeah, because they learn. where to go during the snowy days, or when there is like high winds, or when there is like they arrive earlier. So it's very important that the fawn reaches early on the spring. So the right time, on our opinion, to do the dog management will be February.
Mm.
So as long as you can before they start giving birth of the new things. And if we shoot a doe, we will rather shoot a fawn than the mother,
Mm-hmm.
because the fawn hasn't proven to be a good mother, hasn't proven to survive. Like rather than I mean, killing a mother is killing a deer that has proved to be able to breed, that the forest has invested in her for a long period of time, and the fawn hasn't proved anything. Rather than investing 3 years to see what they do, it better shoot the fawn, and then, if you can, the mother too, if you need to control
Mm.
the population. But the fawn eats the same as the mothers. It was surprising to see that. The same with like young bucks. Like if we see a spike that doesn't have good quality over here, it will be one of our targets, because rather than, if it's a bad spike, it's probably 95%
Mm.
chances that it's going to be a bad deer in the future. So rather than investing 5 years to check and confirm that it's going to be a bad deer, hunt it
Mm.
earlier. And I see that it's not a common practice, at least on the states that I hunted, to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I know it's definitely different wherever you go, but the places that I've hunted, it was a lot of, if the doe doesn't have, or if the fawn doesn't have spots anymore, it's fair game. Like, you can shoot the fawn, you can shoot the mother, whatever. If they have too many does, and then I've been at other places where they're like, no, we don't feel like we have enough does, so please don't touch the does. I'd rather you shoot a small buck than the does. So it definitely it's very, the whitetail thing in and of itself is something that's very interesting, because like you said, people get very obsessed over it, and I can see why. Because if you're trying to manage, if you're actually trying to go for bigger, mature age class bucks, you've got to make sure the area is good. If you're sharing close property with neighbors, you're trying to attract them to your property without putting fences up. So you've got to have the right feed, you've got to have bedding, you've got to have water sources and all of that, shelter for them, let them feel unpressured. There's it's a whole chess match that just goes on throughout the entire year of just trying to bring animals in, and so that's something that. But did you catch the bug, I guess, would be the question. Did you figure
Yeah,
out why it's awesome?
I think like the most awesome part is to hunt on your property and do the move the cards or play the game and take the decisions yourself.
Mhm.
So like it's like when I hunt at home, like people are like, no, you should come over to hunt deer to my place. Like, no, I like to hunt mine deer because I know who they are, I can manage, and I think that I could understand the outfitter that probably was having a better time trying to see, okay, I'm going to put Pedro here
Mhm.
because this back, I think. So I understood that that's the fun part, and that's why people get obsessed with the cameras, with the trail cams, naming the deer, and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we will release the Ohio video. I don't know, in the next month or so, because we end
Awesome.
up shooting one the last day of the hunt too. So it
That's
was
awesome.
as a struggle again. Because it's honestly like they were like, no, the success rate is like 25%. So like the success rate is low. The thing is that there's so many people hunting whitetails that you think that everyone shoots a whitetail, but it's not that easy.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot of things.
especially a good mature buck. That's I mean, when you get into mature animals in general, there's a reason why they got that old. They're smart. Or at least they follow their senses a lot better than the other ones, because they know what they're doing. And I told you about the guy that killed that 400-inch plus bull. He was saying that bull, at one point when he was hunting him, had backed himself in almost like a bear into a cave, had backed himself into this deadfall, so there was nothing that could approach him from behind, and he was facing and smelling everything in front of him. Like, that's how they get that big. They're smart. They know what's up.
Yeah, and especially I think on those states that there is so many house and so many
Mhm.
people hunting, they must get a lot of pressure. And it's
Yeah.
true that when back the action happened so close, I think the second back we shot it at 12 yards. So when after so much
Wow.
time up on a tree, thinking like this is freaking stupid. I look to Roberto, my cameraman, and like, dude, I don't know, like whitetail, it's fun, but after 2 weeks, it was our second week. Like, I think I'd rather hike the mountains. And he looks back at me and like, I don't. I like this. I don't have to climb with all the camera equipment. I'm freaking enjoying this a lot. I'm just sitting here, don't have to pack anything around. For me, we can go whitetail hunting every single year. But when that buck comes and it's 12 yards, like it's exciting and
Mhm.
things happen fast. The shots are close, but you cannot mess up. So you need to concentrate. So there is a lot of small decisions. So we were super lucky to make it happen.
Well, and I want to ask you, because you hunt a lot, you've been in a lot of those situations where you have felt nervous taking a shot, and then other times where you feel very confident, and then you feel the emotions afterwards. How did, we'll say, the buck in Missouri, they come in quick, you hear them just for a brief second coming in if there's leaves, and then they're there. Do you feel the nerves at all, or how did you react to that? All right, guys, brief interruption. I want to remind you about Dark Energy. Dark Energy is a amazing partner of the show. They have everything from these nanos to the Poseidon Pro that you guys know very well. Those two go into the backcountry with me and on any trips. Like, I'm getting ready to take a trip out to Kentucky, and these are going to be in my backpack. This one does have the MagSafe on the back, the Nano, and also has the opportunity to plug in with a USB-C port. But you can get the Poseidon Pro, which is my favorite. There's various colors, and it packs a punch, guys. It's smaller than most phones, and it charges multiple times. At least my phone, it charges it multiple times. And so go and check out Dark Energy, guys. The link will be down below to where you can snag your batteries for the backcountry, for camping, for travel, and everything in between. Use the link down below and the code provided to you to get the best deal possible. Now let's get back to this episode.
For example, in Missouri, since we hadn't seen many bucks, when the buck approached and it was on my left hand, so I had so many things to decide that I wasn't sure. I didn't have time to like to get overexcited because I was like, is it a good buck? Roberto is like, do you think it's good? It looks good, but I wasn't sure like if it was too young. It's like it's my first whitetail, so we didn't see many bucks. So we're like, I think it looks good. I like it's a great opportunity, and I'm always very concerned about those uphill shots about the shoulder. So for me, when I'm aiming, I was like, don't hit the shoulder, no shoulder, no shoulder, wait, wait. So I was like very focused. But for example, on the one in Ohio, it was the last day, so we had been 2 weeks hunting deer already. So and not seeing much deer. And when we saw it through the trees walking, and I called him in, I saw that it was a mature buck because like when you don't doubt, because it was bigger than the one in Missouri. When you don't doubt, it's because it's older. Because as soon as I saw him without the binoculars, like walking, it's like big neck, walking like this, like that's the buck. And I do meh, and that thing stops and turns and comes straight to us. Panicked. I was like, Roberto, because we were filming with two cameras, one with a tripod with a wide angle, and another one with a long lens filming like the kill shot or the animal. And Roberto like lifts the arm to try to film with the second camera, like, don't fucking touch it, don't touch it. We're like, we cannot afford messing this up.
Yeah.
And actually, thank God that he didn't listen to me and he recorded with the wide angle camera, and you can see the kill shot and the backdrop in all on the same frames. We got a cool shot, but for a moment I was like, freaking don't touch the camera. Because I was scared that the bug will see the movement, like the last day after so much effort, like we cannot.
Yeah.
So on the
And
second
it's
one,
kind of mentally draining too, like versus when you're hunting in the mountains, right? You get physically drained, you're putting in a lot of miles, maybe your feet get tired or you're hungry, whatever. Sitting in a tree stand, there's a lot that goes through your mind and you get very mentally drained sitting there all day because it really is like there's a lot of nothing, maybe squirrels, raccoons, whatever, and then boom, it's there. Or it's not. And you woke up, sat in a tree all day, and went back to bed, and you're like, what did I do today?
yeah,
There's a lot of
I wasted a whole day of my life just sitting. So a lot of the time you're sitting there and like, this is stupid. But it was fun. We will definitely go back. So
I love it. I'm excited for that video. And then I guess what would be the third hunt this year that you really enjoyed?
so one thing that it has been a busy year. But one thing that I think it's a cool story, it will be Mongolia that we went for Gobi Ibex
Mm-hmm.
and we were hunting Gobi Ibex. So it's an Ibex in the mountains, typical mountain hunt and all that. Struggling a little bit with the guides because the guide, I don't know, for some reason, they are bad at communicating. Like it's not a matter of a language because I don't speak the same language of some people and they are good. It's like, but those guys were very hard to understand. And they were like,
Maybe it's
no, we
maybe the blood got to their brains a little bit.
it was tough. It was like, like they are trying to help you, which I appreciate because they're trying to help you because, but
Mhm.
at the same time with the bow, you are so close. They are used to rifle hunters, so it's like I can go alone. I know what it's a big ibex. I have hunted enough ibex to understand what we're doing. But leave me alone. But they feel like if they leave you alone, you may not be able.
Mm.
But the thing is with the bow is like you pick over, the guy picks over. That's the ibex. Picks back. The ibex have already seen the guy talks to you. You try to understand. You pick over. The ibex confirms that there is a Spaniard behind a rock. I tell Roberto, now there is a cameraman. So it's a whole process that it's hard. And when you don't know how to communicate, like when it's hard, the communication is hard. I was like, ibex sleeping or walking? And the guy is like, ibex sleeping or walking? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they do the sleeping different with the hands. But I was like, I don't know if they, because I don't know if they are like 40 yards, if they are 50 yards, 100, if there is 3 or 10, better, I don't know. Long story short, after 4 or 5 days, we get the opportunity. I say, like, this time I'm going by my own. I start picking over where some animals that we spotted from far around is like they should be somewhere around here. I pick over and I see this giant billy, 40 yards, quartering away, bedded, looking to the other side. Like heavy not no, yeah, heavy quartering away, but like bedded,
Mhm.
not looking away, like my
Perfect.
heart, yeah, like I was overexcited. But I tell Roberto, like, come close, peek over, because with the mountain it's hard to film sometimes because you see, but one step or half a yard behind you, you don't have
Mhm.
enough clearance to see above. And yeah, he gets it on film. I measure, adjust the sight perfectly to 40 yards to don't have to shoot with the second pin, draw, and as soon as I shoot and I'm pulling the shot, I feel that some movement and a freaking tiny Billy jumps in front of the arrow and I hard shot the young Billy. Hard shot it. It's not that I hit it on a leg. No, hard shot it.
It was
And the big Billy is
perfect.
like, what's happening? And they jump, and since the young Billy was running,
Mm.
it just absorbs all the energy of the arrow because probably if the young Billy would have been standing, I would have go through and hit both. But since it was running, it just like kind of like takes all the energy of the arrow. And it was like the most surreal thing I have ever experienced. Because it's not that you are hunting over a feeder with a lot of
Yeah.
wild boars, or it's a group of ibex that they are walking away. No one had seen the young Billy. And on that, so 40 yards an arrow, if you do the maths, is like one third of a second that it's on flight. So in that one third of a second, to have in the Gobi Desert, that it's a desert, so it's a desert for a reason. There is nothing. To have one arrow on flight and two ibex, the vitals perfectly aligned, it's just crazy. I would have
I
shot
get
one third of a second later,
yeah.
and I would have killed the below on one third of a second earlier. The guy
I
didn't.
think that Billy is there for you next year. You're gonna have to go back now.
He's the luckiest. I told
Yeah.
that to my family, and my sister is like, "And do you think it was the son?" He's like, "Dude, no. It's not like the son is like, Dad, I'm gonna help." Like in the movie,
No.
the guy didn't understood anything because he didn't
Yeah.
watch anything. Like I saw something else because I didn't know if it was a Billy, a nanny, or like I was like I saw something. Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. Something ran by, and I killed something. Like I smoked that thing. I don't know what it is, but I could see the arrow like dead center, and I actually hit him in the heart.
Yeah. I remember watching that video and man, I could feel it was like the mix of emotions that you put into that was just it was so real because like you built up this big Billy and he's big like very big compared to the
It's a
other ones.
giant, like
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah,
14 or
and
13-year-old Billy. So
yeah, and to get 40 yards from him with a cameraman and guides, like that's an impressive feat in and of itself. And then you got a shot. And I'm glad you got it on film because it would be hard to believe
no, people would
any.
have thought that I have shot a young one just to get the species and check it out,
Mhm. Yeah.
my species list or whatever. But I don't know. At the moment, I was like heartbroken because at the end, it's like, how fair is this? Like, I'm putting a lot of effort, time, trying to hunt a big animal with the camera. So it's a lot of effort.
Mhm.
But now I see it, I like, this is one of the best stories ever. So I'm going to be 80 years old and I'm going to be telling, I remember that time.
Yeah, and they're gonna think you're crazy. You're like, no, I have a video. I can show you.
Bring your phone.
Oh
Hopefully one
man,
day I
yeah.
see like a small one and a bigger one jumps on front or something.
Reverse karma, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I deserve that. So
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. You've had an amazing year, and I just kind of wanted to bring you on again, just because I love getting to have a conversation with you. I know, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and share some of these stories from behind the scenes, a little bit more of your perspective, just because you've been gone a lot, and so right now is your family time going into Christmas, and so I really appreciate you coming on here and just again the way, and I highly recommend if people are going to go watch YouTube, this isn't just another YouTuber putting out videos. This is, Pedro puts a ton of time into the editing, this cameraman and everyone that goes in and films. It's just top notch. It really is more, it should be in a movie theater, not just on YouTube. It definitely makes like it
thank
would
you.
look amazing on a big screen. And so just highly recommend that. Couldn't recommend it enough. But what would you say, I guess just to kind of wrap things up here, what do you try and get across with your videos? And why are you choosing to put these videos out and not just go and hunt for yourself?
One, I love sharing the stories, and my father has documented all his hunts since the 80s. So I think like one day my son will watch the films, or maybe he will never watch them. But I think it's cool. Second, like I love getting people into hunting because if it's so amazing for me, like I love when I hear stories of people like, no, I watch your videos and now I'm bow hunting. I started hunting with a bow and I hate you for life now. But like getting people to get excited and travel and experience time, it's something that I enjoy and it's very a personal satisfaction. And also, like luckily, we can spend more time. Also, like we spend more time thanks to making films and all that. So I understand that sometimes you lose some of the opportunities, but at the same time, I understand also that I wouldn't be doing that without filming it. So it's not something that I get mad. It's like, no, you didn't get it on video. I lost my. I don't care. Like I just care about spending time in the mountains, and if we need to spend 3 more days to try to get an opportunity, better. Like
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, no, and another thing too is that you get your wife involved, you've got your son involved, you've gone on hunts with both of them, and this is a family matter. You can tell how much you care about your family and that you love your family. And again, when I talk to people about your videos, I'm like, look, Pedro would be doing this with or without YouTube. Like this is just what he loves doing, and he just happens to put it together with a great cameraman and the way you tell the story is just you just tell it's not scripted and it definitely allows people to see opportunities that I would have like I don't even know what a goby ibex is, right? If I hadn't watched your video. And it's not necessarily a hunt that I per se want to go on, but it is something that is inspiring to see how much effort you put in, all the travel all the time and dealing with the language barrier in countries that don't speak the languages that you speak. And so all of that to be said, you do an amazing job. I really do appreciate
We
everything you do there.
we love what we do. So like we hunt every week, we hunt every weekend, partridges and roe deer and all that. So we honestly enjoy it, and I think it goes through the films because we are actually having fun. So we are not
Mhm.
there because it's a terrible business to get in. That's one thing.
Yeah.
The, the worst business you can get in yourself into, but we love it. So, and we like
Yeah.
everything. We like the rifle, the bow, mountain hunts, tree stand hunts, and anything in between.
Exactly. No, that's awesome. And guys out there listening, I definitely highly recommend, again, going and checking out the channel. Maybe you'll find a hunt that you want to go on and learn a little bit more about what the hunt is. I also recommend that you go back and check out, and I'll leave it linked here, our last podcast episode that we did last year, where Pedro goes over his story of he legitimately was building the biggest telescopes at that time, was a key player in building those, an engineer. He hasn't been doing this hunting thing his whole life. He quit a well-paying, well-taken care of job to go and represent Kuyu and hunt for a living. And so if that doesn't tell you what kind of guy Pedro is, just passionate about what he's doing, I don't know what does, because that's an amazing story in and of itself. So definitely go check out that, and we won't get into that here. But is there anything else that you'd like to leave with the audience before we hop off?
I don't know. You should have told me before, so I could think of something smart to say. No, that everyone that enjoys the time out there. So, like, I know that the season is coming to an end, but hunting is more than getting out. So, like, enjoy the whole off season too, and get ready for the next one that will be around the corner anytime. So,
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah, guys, I'll leave the links down below where you can find Pedro's channel. If you're not already subscribed to his channel, I highly recommend it. Go be one of those 5 subscribers that he gained for drinking the blood, and then, enjoy his Spaniard, everything that he's got with his jokes and everything. It's just amazing. It really is. And with that,
I put subtitles on the films. Okay, so yeah, if you guys don't understand me properly, like, it's all subtitles, so you can read proper English.
if you can't understand Pedro, just don't even worry about subscribing. Just move on. Like, you really don't have an accent. I mean, your Spaniard sense of humor, it comes out. It's pretty funny. But with that being said, definitely go check out the whitetail video and everything else you've got going on there. And I need to find a way. I'm gonna Photoshop your head on a possum, and I'm gonna send you a card or something. That's gonna be like your emoji. That's That's what you're gonna do. Pedro
Are you going
Possum.
to any? Are you going to any of the shows or not this year?
So I actually won the trip for my work. So last year we went to Italy. At the beginning of this year, I was in Italy. I told them I wanted to go to Spain. The company chose Italy. Is what it is. And then this year they chose Fiji, and I was like, man, like I don't drink, and I don't like sitting on a beach because I'm a redhead. I'm gonna burn, right? So that doesn't sound fun. And then my wife and I were looking at it. We're gonna actually do some scuba diving and stuff like that. So I put some effort in and won the trip this year for the company again. So we'll be in Fiji during the Hunt Expo. So yeah, it's terrible. It's awful.
You need
I'd
to
much
speak.
I'd much rather be in cold Utah with a bunch of people passing around sickness at the Hunt Expo.
Than with your wife.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm considering the ATA show. Are you going to ATA?
No, we're going to Wild Sheep, Shot Show, and Nashville.
Okay.
So no ATA this year. We went last year, but we want to check the other shows.
Yeah. I'll see about the other ones, but either way, hopefully we meet up there. If not, we'll have to run this back at the end of 2025 and see what other young or huge animals you decided to put an arrow through in 2025. Yeah, guys. With that being said, have a fantastic day, and like I always say, get out, live your life, and love it.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Pedro. He is, again, a wealth of knowledge and experience. I'm super stoked for him and all of his success that he's had in 2024. And let me tell you, 2025 is going to be an even bigger year for this man. He and his crew and his family just have such amazing things planned. I highly recommend you go and follow along. I'll leave the link to his channel down below. Definitely go check it out. You will not be disappointed. He puts on an amazing video, explains the hunts in ways that I feel like it's hard to do sometimes and hard to put into words if you're not there. And somehow he brings you into the experience, and it's just overall outstanding. With that being said, guys, if you're looking to support the show, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, Go and follow along if you're listening to this on the audio only platform, Spotify, Apple, etc. Go and follow it and leave a review on the podcast. It helps way more than you know. If you're looking to buy some gear, getting geared up for whether it be maybe some camping trips you have here in the spring, hunts in the spring, camping in the summer, tack events, and then of course the hunts in the fall. Maybe you want to tinker with your gear for all these months leading up to these next hunts that you have planned for this year. Go and get your gear over at BlackOvis, or if you're looking for a new battery pack, go over to Dark Energy, use code RedBeard. And last but not least, guys, I do want to bring up to you, we have a partnership with Canvas Cutter. Canvas Cutter is my favorite by far mobile sleeping setup. They have an amazing foam pad. I've been through many storms with the Canvas Cutter setup, and it kept me warm and dry, whether it was freezing cold or warm. You can unzip it and use the mesh lining, everything in between. Go and check out Canvas Cutter. The code there as well is code RedBeard. Again, guys, thank you so much for your support in tuning into the channel. I really appreciate it. We've got big things here in 2025, as I hope you do as well. So let's get this year started right. If you haven't already, stay tuned and have a fantastic rest of your day. And like I always say, guys, get out, live your life, and love it.